Hello viewers, welcome to my channel. I'm Hasham Ali Khan. Last video I have completed the topic of merchant banking. The meaning of merchant banking and what are the functions of merchant banking. So in two videos I have completed this topic of merchant banking. Now in this video I'm going to explain you about the hire purchase. This is also one of the method of financing. So if you have not watched the earlier videos, I suggest you go to the playlist of my channel, select the subject financial institutions and market. Be perfect on the topic of merchant banking. Now in this video, I am going to explain you about hire purchase, the features of hire purchase, merits and demerits of hire purchase. So before starting the video, take the screenshot of the points which I have written on the board. Then I explain all the points in detail. Now, first of all, I am going to explain you about the meaning of the term hire purchase. It's a method. Hire purchase system is a system of selling the goods where the hire vendor is the person who sells the goods on HP and hire purchaser is the buyer. So in this HP system, the sale wherein buyer pays the price of the product in installment. The hire vendor will sell the goods to the hire purchaser and the hire purchaser will pay the amount in installments. Suppose I am the hire vendor and you are the hire purchaser. So immediately I am giving the possession of the goods to you. I am transferring the physical possession of the goods to you and you have to pay the price in installment in future. That means the ownership is not transferred. I am the hire vendor, I am simply transferring the possession of the goods, not the ownership. The ownership will be transferred only on the payment of the last installment. Till that time, the ownership lies with the hire vendor and the possession is in the hands of the hire purchaser. Now, when the seller enters into an HP agreement, the goods are immediately transferred to the buyer, but the ownership is not transferred. Just now I told you, only the possession of the goods will be transferred to the buyer, whereas the ownership is retained with the vendor, seller. However, once the buyer pays the last installment, the ownership will be transferred. The ownership of the goods will be transferred only on the payment of the last installment. Till that time, the goods can be used by the purchaser, but ownership he will not get. Now the ownership, it should be noted that hire purchase agreement can be cancelled by the buyer or the seller at any time before the last installment is paid. That means the agreement is made in such a way that the clause will be there. If any party wants to cancel the agreement, they can cancel it. Terms and conditions will be written in the hire purchase agreement that at any time either the seller or the buyer can cancel the agreement before the last installment is paid. And once the last installment is paid and the ownership is transferred, then nothing can be done. Right? Now, moreover, the seller may take the possession of the product if the buyer fails to pay the last installment. Suppose if 12 installments are there, 10 installments have been paid by the buyer, last 2 installments he has not paid. Then owner, the vendor will have the right to take back the product, repossess the product. That means whatever the charges paid, installment paid by the hire vendor, hire purchaser will not be refunded. That will be treated as hire charges. That means if the buyer fails to pay the installment, the vendor has the right to take back the goods. Now the product cannot be mortgaged or sold before the payment of last installment. When the possession is given to the buyer does not have the title so he cannot sell the goods. He cannot mortgage the goods because he is not the owner. The ownership still lies with the hire vendor. The only thing is hire purchaser can use the asset but cannot sell it, but cannot mortgage it. That is the meaning of hire purchase. So simply, hire purchase is an agreement of sale where the seller will transfer the possession to the buyer and the buyer will pay the amount in installment. The ownership will lie with the seller and with the vendor, and the ownership will be transferred to the buyer only on the payment of the last installment. Now, what are the features of hire purchase? The first feature, hire purchase agreement is in the nature of credit purchase with the money being payable in installment. It is simply just like a credit purchase. You are the buyer, I am the vendor. So you have purchased the asset with the promise that you will pay the amount in installment. So it is just like a credit purchase for you. Secondly, it is an agreement to transfer the goods on HP vendor to hire purchaser for a price to be paid in installments. So actually, hire purchase agreement is an agreement where the vendor has given the asset to the buyer and asked him to pay the amount in installments in future. Now the agreement comes into existence when hire purchaser pays a small amount called down payment to the hire vendor and takes possession of the product. Normally, it's not compulsory, but normally what will happen, the hire vendor will say to the hire purchaser that you have to pay a small amount called down payment at the time of making the agreement. At the time of signing the agreement, a small amount will be paid by the buyer to the seller. That is called a down payment. It's not compulsory, but it is normally seen that wherever goods are sold on HP, down payment is made. Next one is regarding ownership. See here, ownership remains with the hire vendor till the last installment. Remember one point, very important point. When the goods are transferred, only possession is transferred, physical item is transferred, but the ownership still retained by the vendor. The vendor will transfer the ownership only on the payment of the last installment. Failure to pay the installment can lead to cancellation of the agreement. Then hire vendor can take back the possession. If during the period the hire purchaser has not paid the installment, then what hire vendor can do? Hire vendor can repossess the goods, take back the goods. That means whatever installment he has paid, that will not be refunded. That will be treated as a hire charges. Now, goods transferred under hire purchase cannot be sold or mortgaged because the buyer is not having the title. He is not the owner. He is having only possession. So he cannot sell, he cannot mortgage the goods. So these are some of the features of hire purchase. Now the next thing is, what are the merits of hire purchase? What are the advantages? Merits means advantages. There are many advantages of hire purchase system because in this case there is no need to pay the complete cost of the goods. Without having sufficient funds, we can use. For example, I want a car. The price of the car is, let it be 10 lakh rupees, but I don't have 10 lakh rupees. Still, I can have it by purchasing the car on installment. I'm having only 2 lakh rupees. So I'll take this 2 lakh rupees to the hire vendor and ask him that take 2 lakh rupees as the down payment and remaining amount I will pay in installment, give me the car. So I got the car, I'm using the car without having the ownership, but I'm having the car. So many advantages we can get through hire purchase. The first hire purchase advantage is financing mechanism. Financing mechanism means investment without using the funds. Investment in the capital asset without using the fund. Example, in my business I need machinery. The cost of the machinery is 10 lakh rupees, but I don't have fund of 10 lakh. But still I can have that machine even without having the fund. How? I can take it on installment on hire purchase system. So it is simply a mechanism of financing. So it is another innovative mechanism of obtaining funds by offering an asset. Flexibility. So from the hire purchaser point of view, it is very much flexible because the hire purchaser enjoys the flexibility of getting out of the deal in case the plants with which the equipment or product are not working properly. The hire purchaser is not stuck up with the item. That means if the hire purchaser is not in a position to pay the installment, simply he stops the payment of installment. What will happen? Hire vendor will take back the goods. That's it. So it is easy. It is not compulsory on the part of the hire purchaser to pay the installment. If the hire purchaser is not in a position to pay the installment, stop the payment. Then hire vendor will take back the goods. That means the buyer is not stuck up with the deal. Next one is convenience. It offers HP hire purchase offers the easiest way of terminating the contract. The hire purchaser simply has to stop the paying the installment and the deal will be off. So it is very convenient on the part of the hire purchaser. Simply, if not in a position, stop the payment. Automatically, the deal will be stopped. The deal will be closed. Then tax benefits. The hire purchase agreement can be conveniently designed to take advantage of prevailing tax laws in the manner that is beneficial to both the parties. Nowadays, very important factor to be considered when investment is made is the tax provisions. Because a lot of tax provisions are there. If without considering the tax provision, if we take a decision, then definitely tax liability will increase. So this hire purchase system can be made in such a way that we will consider the tax laws and make convenient for both the parties, the hire vendor and the hire purchaser. Next one is freeze up of scarce capital. See here, capital is not abundant. We are facing scarcity of capital. Capital is limited. With the help of limited capital, a business has to perform so many activities. That means by taking the asset on hire purchase system, it will free the capital. The business can use the capital for any other purpose, which is more beneficial. Like that, by using the asset on hire purchase system, it will free the capital. We can use the capital for any other purpose. Now, demerits. We have discussed about the merits, advantages. Now I am coming to the disadvantages. You should not think that there are only advantages of HP system. There are some disadvantages. What is the disadvantage? First one, expensive. If you compare the purchasing goods outright or purchasing the goods on HP, so what is the difference? Purchasing the goods outright, by making outright payment, the cost is less. Whereas if we purchase the goods on hire purchase system, the cost will be more because the interest charges are included. Example, if I go to purchase a machine, the machine cost rupees 5 lakh. So immediately if I pay the 5 lakh rupees, I will get the machine. But the same machine, if I take on installment, the cost is 6 lakh rupees. Then why the cost is 6 lakh rupees? Because 1 lakh rupees are interest charges included in HP installment. So when we buy the goods on hire purchase, it is more costly. It is more expensive. More money we have to spend because interest charges are included. That is the demerit of purchasing the goods on HP system. Secondly, temptation to splurge. Splurge means making extravagant expenditure. That means without having any need, we spend the money. So nowadays what will happen, due to this HP system, more and more people are buying the goods just extravagantly because we don't need it. Simply we will purchase because the goods are given on hire purchase system. Simply example, I am having a mobile phone. Already mobile phone is working for the last few years. But nowadays a new version has come. New technology, new version of mobile has come. Now immediately I will say, I will purchase it. The cost of the new mobile is 80,000. No problem, because the supplier is selling on hire purchase system. I will take it on HP and every month I will pay the installments. That means automatically a person is tempted to buy the goods. If it is given on installment or hire purchase system. So unnecessarily people will buy the goods if the goods are given on HP. The flexibility to pay later often induces individual as well as business to splurge even when such goods are not required. Even if it is not required, still we are purchasing because it is available on HP. Small firms obtaining costly goods on HP may have to bear a heavy burden to the firm. If the firm is small, not necessary to buy these luxurious goods, still the business is buying a luxurious goods on HP system, then interest charges are paid. So it's a big problem, big burden on the firm. Next, loss due to cancellation. If in the middle of the period, if that HP agreement is cancelled, then definitely it will affect the business. If the deal is called off in between, the installment paid is treated as hire charges. The installment amount is much higher than the simple rental charges. Suppose if in between the deal is cancelled, then what will happen? The hire vendor will not return back the installments paid by the hire purchaser. Whatever amount you have paid, that will be treated as hire charges, and that will be more than the simple rental charges if I have taken that asset on rent. Next demerit is risky to hire purchaser. If the buyer failed to pay the required installment, then the seller will take back the goods without paying back the installment. So it is always risky. The buyer should be in a position to pay all the installments. If there is default in making the installment paid, then definitely there is a risk. What is the risk? The vendor can take back the goods. Vendor can repossess the goods legally. Law has given the power to the hire vendor to take back the goods if the hire purchase has not paid the installment. So always there is a risk attached with hire purchase system to the hire purchaser. Lastly, promotion of wasteful competition. Unnecessary competition is going on among the people because the goods are available on hire purchase. People are rushing to purchase the goods on hire purchase, and unnecessarily without having the ability to buy, they are buying the goods. It will be a big burden on them. So it is easier to get possession of expensive goods from the HP traders. As a result, people get attracted towards luxurious life, which is beyond their scope. Beyond their ability, they are going to buy luxurious goods without having the ability, but still the people are rushing to get the goods on hire purchase system. This results in extravagance and wasteful competition among them. Unnecessary wasteful competition will arise among the people to get more and more luxurious goods, even if they don't have the ability to afford those goods. That is a disadvantage, demerit of hire purchase system. So in this video, I have explained you the meaning of the term hire purchase, the features of hire purchase, merits and demerits of hire purchase. So in examination, a question may be asked, explain hire purchase and what are the merits and demerits. So watch the video twice, thrice. So definitely you will get a good command on this topic and you can confidently write in examination. I wish you all the best for your preparations. Inshallah, we'll continue the next topic in the next video.